Okay, good afternoon to everybody on the GS Resource Forum. I've made this little video here to hope to prove that this is a well-designed manometer for syncing your carburetors, and that it works quite well. And I've also would like to prove that the levels of the bottles do not matter in this type of manometer. Okay, here we go. I've got 4 vodka bottles here. You could use anything. I got my tubes that go out to my carburetors through my sync port adapters, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I apologize for not having the motorcycle here, but I'm going to use a couple of Mighty Vac vacuum pulling gauges. Alright, first thing is the tubes that come from your carburetors only go down just right below the stopper. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now the other tubes go all the way to the bottom of the bottle. They are connected together. I've got an aquarium gang valve. Right now I've just got number 1 and number 2 turned on because we're just going to do 2 cylinders. They're connected together at each end, and here we go. I'm going to pull a vacuum, and right now you can see that the levels are even. I've evened them up. Get a good shot here. Alright. Now let's pretend that number 1 is pulling a stronger vacuum than number 2. Now the level of the water is rising. That's what we want. If you look real close, as the vacuum is being pulled, you can see that there is some bubbling as the air and the liquid from number 2 bottle is being pulled into the number 1 bottle. Okay, we've got roughly 5 inches on number 1, and it's emptying the second bottle fairly quickly. Okay, now that just proves that pulling a vacuum on 1 makes that level go up, and pulling a vacuum now on bottle 2, I'm going to pull more of a vacuum. I've got about 6 or 7. I think there's some small leaks in my vacuum pullers, but that's okay. Near 10 there. Okay, as you can see, number 2 is now bubbling and or filling up with liquid and or pulling more vacuum. So they're getting a little closer back to even. It's number 1 and number 2. Number 2 has about 6 and number 1 has about 5. So number 2 is bubbling kind of slowly as it slowly pulls its liquid back into its bottle. Now, here's the part of the video I'm shooting for, is to prove that the levels do not matter. Alright, now we've got about a little less than 5 inches on number 1, about 5 inches on number 2, and you can see that number 2 is slowly but surely has slightly more vacuum. Number 1's doing nothing, number 2 is bubbling and filling, and the level is rising very slowly. Well, you come to a point when you're syncing your carburetors that you'll get this going on. You'll get number 1 to bubble, and then you turn your screw a little bit, and number 2 will bubble. And you can go back and forth. It's like a 1/16 of a turn. You can get number 1 to bubble, or pull vacuum or liquid, and then you can get number 2 to bubble. Just by going back and forth with your screw. So basically, let's get the levels a little more uneven so I can prove this. really filling up number one now. Okay, I'm just going to stop it. I'm going to let all the vacuum off of either side. Alright, just get a base point. Okay, the levels are uneven. Now, we're going to pull about almost 5. About 5. Number one is filling up more. Now I'm going to pull about 5 on number 2. Now you come to a point where they're both 5, a little less than 5, a little less than 5, and number 2 is just barely bubbling. So, telling me that they're pulling the same amount of vacuum, a little bit less than 5, a little bit less than 5. And because there's no transfer, and you can see up top, there's no fluid going around that tube and into the other. There's nothing transferring. Just some little bit of air on the one that's stronger. The levels do not have to be even. They just have to not be pulling against each other. So I don't know if this proves anything. It proves it to me, and it proved it to me after I did it to the motorcycle, how much better it ran, that this is a good sync tool, and you shouldn't get worried about the levels with this kind of tool. You just need to make sure that one bottle is not being emptied by the other bottles, and just go for the best level you can get. See, roughly now they're both stopped. They're both just about stopped. I'm trying to match them up again. A little less than 5. A little less than 5. And nothing is happening. They're both pulling 5 inches, but the levels are quite different. And I think you can really fine tune it with this, because like I said, 1/16 of a turn one way, you'll see it pulling into one bottle. 1/16 of a turn the other way, you'll see it pulling into the other bottle. So you just kind of shoot for a midpoint between that 1/16 of a turn, and it's about as synced as it's going to get. And like I say, I apologize again for not having the motorcycle. I hope to make a video with the motorcycle actually running with these with this sync tool. Thank you.